Hey guys, I'm going to crochet some very basic stitches with you guys. This video is intended for the beginner who has always wanted to learn how to crochet but doesn't know where to start. This video is for you. I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible. There are really only 5 or 6 basic stitches that you need to know, and most everything that you see is just going to be a combination of those stitches and various techniques that are actually pretty easy to learn. So I'm going to do the chain stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and I'm also going to show you how to slip stitch. All right, most projects are going to start off with a chain, so your tension is important. You take your 5 fingers and you're going to wind your yarn around your finger. When I first started crocheting, I was winding my yarn twice, and I've seen people do it, but for me it took a whole lot of relearning and readjusting. And when I stopped doing this and I made my tension just laid right over this finger, I started having much better results because my projects were coming out way too tight. My tension was too tight. So to get my hook, which is going to be an aluminum hook, size 5.5 millimeters, and this worsted 4-weight acrylic yarn. I like working with acrylic. Some people really don't. They say they're not inspired, but if it's not cotton or wool or a natural fiber, I really don't have a preference. Natural fibers aren't going to give you this neon pink pigment that I think is cool. I think it looks magenta on the screen, but it's neon pink. So you saw me just wrap a little pretzel. I'll come in one side of the pretzel and out up through the middle and pull it tight, and that's how I make my my knot. You don't want to make this too tight because this is going to end up being the top of your first stitch when you come back around with your work, and if you can't get your hook in, it's not going to be very great. It's going to be hard. All right, so we'll go with our first stitch. I'm gonna do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see how it's kind of pulling as I go. That's what you want. You really want your yarn to be in like a ball like this. There's other methods to get your yarn to just come out as you need it, and that's really what you want, so that you can just keep working. The projects take a long time. Any little trick you can use to cut time off of your project is going to be beneficial. So now we have 10, and what you're going to find is that they say, and then crochet 1 more or 2 more, and then you're going to put your first stitch away in the first or the second stitch away from the hook. So what I do when I have my 10, and my next row is going to be a single crochet, so I know I have to go up 1. So now I have a length of 10, but it's going to have a height of 1 because a single crochet has a height of 1 stitch. Half double crochet is a height of 2. Double crochet is also a height of 2 or possibly 3, depending on what your pattern calls for. So I've got my 10. I'm going to put my fingers right here and hold on to my last stitch to know that this last one right here is not going to count as part of my chain. It's going to count as the height of my next row. So then I'm going to come right in here, take these top 2, pick up my yarn, and then I'm coming through one more time with my yarn to complete my very first single crochet. And I'm going to go across the row, and I should have 10 at the end of the row, just like I had 10 for my base chain. So in my next row, I'm going to do half double crochets, and those are going to be a longer stitch. I'm sorry, a taller stitch. It'll have more height. So my first height row is going to be taller. My first height stitch is going to be taller as well. And that chain actually doesn't count as a stitch, and I'll show you what I mean when I get to the end and I turn my work. So this is going to be 9, and the very last one here, remember I told you don't make it too tight, is going to be 10. It's always good to go back and count your work. You would ask yourself, well, how often should I go back and count? And the question of anybody who knits or crochets or sews is, how many times do you want to have to go back and redo it? You'd rather check than have to redo it. Everybody who knits, sews, or crochets has had to take out a lot of work to go back and put one stitch where they forgot 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So now we have to turn back around to do our half double crochets across these 10. It's still going to be 10 stitches, so 1 in each. That's what we're going to do here. So I need to give my height to my next row, so I'm going to do 2. This doesn't count as your first stitch. There are going to be some patterns where they will use this as your first stitch, but they'll give you, they'll make you do 3. So you do 1, 2, and then the third will count as this over stitch, like this one is. And then you'll go right into your next one with a half double crochet. So then if you do a height of 3, this will count as your first stitch, but we're actually going to put a stitch in this first loop here. So the half double crochet, again, get your tension. It's not too loose, not too tight. It actually varies as you're working because you're moving slowly. You'll get adjusted to it. You only have to do it 500 or 1,000 times, maybe more. Who knows? It takes a long time to get that feeling, but you have plenty of practice. When you do pieces, you can start with something simple like a granny square or a baby blanket, something like that. Anyway, so we're going to yarn over. We're going to go right into this first stitch here. You're going to pick this yarn up. And this is the base of your half double crochet and your double crochet. So with the half double crochet, you're just going to go through all of these. This is where you want to keep that tension. You really don't want to go through two and then go through another one. You really want to do it all at the same time. So you're going to swoop it up, go in, and pick them all up through here. There you go. That's your first half double crochet. And we're going to do all 10. All right, I see this video is getting a little bit long, so let me speed it up for you so that I can get you to the double crochet and the slip stitch, and then you know almost everything you need to know to get started doing a project. All right, we're at the other end. Let me make sure I only pick up the two that I want to pick up. There we go. All right, so now we have one chain row, one single crochet row, and one double crochet row. I'm going to do a half double crochet. We're going to give it a height of 2. We're going to chain over, and some people say pick up the yarn, some people say chain over. It's the same thing because you need to get that extra loop on your hook, so you need that yarn. You're going to chain over again, but this time instead of going through all 3, you're going to do the first 2 and then the last 2, and that'll give you your first double crochet. And we're going to do that 10 times. So we're going to double crochet all the way down, yarn over, go under these 2 here, underneath 2, underneath 2, yarn over, under 2, under 2. We're going to do this all the way to the end, and then I'm going to show you how to slip stitch. Sometimes you will use, very rarely, but you can, you'll use a slip stitch for like a border to make it look more neat. I prefer to use a single crochet as a border, unless you don't want any more height to your work. If you don't want any more height to your work, or you just want to do like a black border around something, you know, like say you just want a little strip of black right here, then you would slip stitch. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to use another color just so you can see it. All right, this is a totally different type of yarn. This is cotton, but it's the same weight. So without even changing this over, because we'll do that in another video, I'm going to show you how to slip stitch across. All right, I'm just going to pick this white up as if it was the last stitch on here. So now I've got the white on here. You'll be able to see this slip stitch, so I'm just going to give myself one here. So the slip stitch, the reason I tend to stay away from it if I don't really have to use it, well, first of all, you can close up works like this. If you're working on like a beanie or something and you're coming around, you can close up your work with a slip stitch. So now you have a little circle. You can close up your work with a slip stitch, but that's not what I want to do. I'm going to show you how to just slip stitch across the side.
So I'm slip stitching across my work. As you can see, it leaves a nice crisp border. I prefer a single crochet, but some of the things that you're going to make in the future are going to call for a slip stitch. This video is meant for you to familiarize yourself a little bit with crochet, not necessarily teach you all the stitches. If there's anything else you want to see, leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I'll get back to you, and we can work on some more projects together in the future. Thank you so much for watching my video.